What's happening, guys? This is James Vallon with MMOHuts.com, taking an early look at Monster Madness Online, a 3D action MMO and shooter from the same developers as Dungeon Defenders, which is Trendy Entertainment. And on this particular game, they partnered up with Nom Nom Games to make the game available on a huge variety of platforms like Mac, Linux, most of the browsers, iOS, Android, and obviously PC, because this is the PC client version that you're seeing right here. But the game itself is in a pre-alpha state, so definitely keep that in mind. It's very early access. But the developers have decided to open up the gates to let players in early on to help influence the direction of the game. So actually, anybody can actually hop in and help out. But for now, there's very little in the game as far as features and game modes, but I will give you guys a rundown on what's currently in the game and also talk about the direction that they plan on taking it, because they plan on going big with this one. So the game starts you out in a lobby area where you can see other players sort of kind of jumping around, shooting at each other, and also the two NPCs that are here. And I suppose as they add more to the game, this area will be more like, I guess there'll be more NPCs that serve different purposes around in the area. It seems that way anyway. There's plenty of room, and like over here you've got, you know, your something that looks like maybe this could be where the cash shop is, and maybe this right here could actually be where, you know, the crafting area. You've got a lot of paint options. I don't know, it seems like it may be set up that way. There's obviously a purpose to the form of this sort of hub area. But if you go over here and you talk to Barry, then you can select your character. You've got 4 to choose from currently, but clues kind of point to the idea that there are plans to be more implemented later. But also keep in mind that the user interface and the menus in this are probably going to change at least a little bit before they're finished. And that's one of the reasons I feel that they'll have more NPCs. You'll probably have a specific NPC you go to and change certain aspects of your character, maybe cosmetics, and then the other one will be like, I don't know, adding gear or something like that. Anyway, for now you've got 4 options for characters, and for now there's no real difference in terms of stats between each one of the characters. The only reason Jablondy here has different stats is because as you level you gain points to increase your attributes, just like you would in most RPG games. But on the other hand, they may also make some changes to the characters as well. Like if you look here, one of the stats that you can upgrade is the ability strength bonus. So there's definitely abilities in the game. They might actually add unique abilities to the specific characters, or maybe even class-based variety. Otherwise, you've got a decent amount of characteristics to work with, like, you know, your ranged attack damage, melee attack damage, health, movement speed, that one's definitely important, and your various regen rates. And so you can see here you've got several places for items, which are actually purely cosmetic. They don't have any stats on them, and you earn these by completing missions and sometimes finding them throughout the game. They haven't yet implemented the cash shop in the game, but more special or exclusive cosmetic items are more likely what you're going to find in the cash shop. There are plenty of random items and costumes to pick up and earn, so you can definitely tell that that's going to be a big part of the game. So in that sense, it may be a bit like offensive combat or, you know, similar games. And so other items that you can find in the game, of course, are weapons and consumables. Here I've got the standard weapons that you start out with, some Molotov cocktails, and grenades, of course, which both of these you can actually run out of. These are consumables, whereas with the weapons, your ammo seems to regenerate when you come back from a mission, like when you get to the hub area again. It seems like I found the Molotovs and grenades as random drops from chests, or maybe completing some of the PvP matches. I can't really tell, they just kind of show up. That, or I don't seem to notice. But weapons and items are another thing that they plan to go crazy with in this game. They plan to add a lot more through testing, and as I was playing, I noticed the GMs in the game, they were talking about adding in miniguns and flamethrowers next, so that actually sounds pretty cool. Plus, they plan to have a crafting system to where players can pick up blueprints and other materials to make their own weapons and gear. I'm assuming similar to, like, I guess Gotham City Imposters, or maybe even Loadout. But anyway, here we have the die combinator. so just like in a good amount of MMORPGs, you can pick up and purchase dies to change the color of your gear, weapons, and outfit. And so far, that's actually how the customization works in this game. You can pick up costumes and items to add to your character, along with changing the color of all of those things. So let's go ahead and hop into a mission here and check out more of the gameplay. The matches are formed randomly with others in the session. So when you log into the game, you join a session. And sometimes you start in a match that's already going on, and sometimes you have to wait a few minutes for other players to join in. But the mission will start with just 2 players, so you don't actually need 4 players to go in there, but 4 seems to be the max for now. The game definitely reminds me of what would be a I would say, a modern version of Zombies Ate My Neighbor, because you're running around as a teenager and there's an overwhelming amount of monsters coming after you from all directions. That and the cartoony feel bring back the good old Sega Genesis days with Zombies Ate My Neighbor, so I have no problem thinking about the game in that light. Alright, so one cool feature that I noticed right off the bat is that you've got a nice variety of camera options available, at least in the client version of the game. That is, you can scroll all the way out to an isometric view like this, which some people might like, but for now I can say it's a little bit hard to see some of the monsters coming after you, especially if you don't know or if you think they're coming from the bottom portion of your screen here. I can't really tell if I'm hitting anything from this direction. Or you can scroll back in for the third person, almost over the shoulder look and feel. Or you can keep going all the way into first-person view, which can also be kind of scary because you can't quite see the sticks of dynamite being thrown at you from some of the more intelligent zombies that apparently learn how to create, ignite, and accurately throw dynamite. Good thing the walkers in The Walking Dead haven't figured that out yet. But yeah, the view is up to you in this game, and I like that. I think that it's nice to be able to switch back and forth for certain situations. I do know, however, that the browser version of the game doesn't let you view in the third-person or first-person mode. I guess it's because of performance issues or engine limitations. I'm not sure exactly. I can't yet say that for the mobile versions of the game, but I would suspect that you have the freedom to change the views, at least within the options or something like that. Just because they have a top-down version of Battle Bears, and they also have a third-person version of nearly the same game. So I think it's possible, but for now, I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Now, the controls themselves are a little clunky, but I have a feeling it has to do with a couple of things, like the fact that it's hard to determine what you can actually jump on. It looks like you're jumping high enough to clear things, but you don't quite make it, so you got to get used to what you're trying to jump on. Or you might get caught on something occasionally, and in a game like this where you're trying to avoid being eaten or blown up by the living dead, you want to confidently be able to make your jumps and get on top of whatever you can to survive. And the movement in the game is a little slow. It's sort of like Brick Force, which kind of got a sluggish feeling to it. It does feel similar to Dungeon Defenders, so I'm not sure that sort of controls is going to change much, but it's easy to pick up and it seems to work well for this game type. But that's the objective in this game mode, if you haven't picked it up so far, is to survive in suburbia as long as you can. It's the only PvE mode in the game so far, but it's one of tons that they plan on adding in, including game modes that utilize vehicles and some permadeath modes, which is a nice challenging touch to see in a game like this type of game anyway. So that's actually one of the primary focuses coming from the devs. They want a variety in terms of game modes, customization, crafting abilities, so pretty much everything. They also plan to have more PvP modes than any other games like it, and in that case, I'm all for it. But anyway, back to controls and mechanics. You move around with W, A, S, and D, fire with left click, and aim with your mouse. So, your typical controls. You can select through your weapons with the number keys, and you can customize these slots according to preference, and you'll also notice that there are 1 through 6 ability slots here, so when they become available in the game, you'll be able to hold down right click and select 1 through 6 to cast these abilities. And I've only seen a few of these abilities. I only see them when the GMs are around, and that and the outfits and pets that can be equipped in. I've seen some pretty cool looking outfits with pets and miniguns when the devs come around, but other than that, you can jump with spacebar, and you have a handy dodge function that you can use by pressing shift, but you do have to be careful over using the dodge function because you do have a stamina resource to manage. It regenerates on its own just like your health does, but getting caught in a situation where you can't dodge doesn't usually end well. Because if you die, then that's it. You're actually out of the game. You just kind of have to watch your other teammates play, and there's no way they can heal you. There's no they can't revive you, or you don't respawn, so that's kind of the end of the match for you. Oh, and you can always press Z to unequip your weapon and try to cuddle them to death, or at least that's what it looks like. I think those are punches, but I'm not sure. So another thing they plan to have tons of is monsters. For now, there are like 3 or 4 types. They plan on having more than 70 different types. And right now, the absolute worst to deal with are these werewolves. They're tanky and they hurt. Plus, they lunge at you from a long way, so you pretty much have to clear a path to be able to run away from them. Otherwise, it takes 3 close shotgun blasts to the face to take them out. And I'm gonna say, the AI isn't the smartest, so it's actually easy to find areas that can act as temporary safe zones to group them up in and just blow them away. And if they don't fix these areas soon, it'll be a great way to farm for these monster tokens that you see here, which can be used to purchase items and weapons once the shop is actually added in. So Sometimes you run into toolboxes that give you monster tokens, dyes, or various items, so I'm sure in the future these will offer all kinds of stuff, including weapons, which the weapons you start out with are fairly useful, as you've noticed. You've got the dual-wielding nail guns that hold 60 rounds before you have to reload, but they kind of do minimal damage. You've got the opposite effect with the rocket launcher here, which is good for clearing out a crowd, opening up a path, or working down a group of tanky werewolves. And then you've got the shotgun. It's great at close range with reasonable damage, but it can get you in trouble if you don't have a chance to reload it. Now the cool thing is, you can choose to reload all 12 rounds at once, which gets kind of risky, or you can cancel out of it by either shooting or dodging while reloading. Otherwise, it's best to, find a quiet area to reload completely, or be ready to switch weapons fast. It's up to you. But if you want to know, you can manually reload by pressing the corresponding weapon slot number. This technique is actually really helpful. The Molotovs and the grenades are really effective, but you've got to use them wisely because you only get them every once in a while. But once you survive long enough, you end up facing the Wild Frankie, and this is typically where you meet your maker, because he will kill you quick. The whole group usually ends up dying or running out of ammo at this point, so needless to say, he's pretty tough. And seeing that it doesn't scale to your level, and you might not have the stats to go in and deal massive amounts of damage, it really does get tough, for now anyways. The players you usually see beat him are levels 10 plus, but it's definitely clear that this will get all sorted out as the game progresses in development. In fact, the first day I played the game, the mission objective was different. Frankie wasn't even in the game yet. And I've got a strong feeling that they plan on adding to the game on a nearly daily basis at this stage of development. But anyway, that's a current PvE mode in the game. Let's jump over to the PvP side of the game. So currently the PvP mode available is Capture the Flag. It's 4v4 and the standard CTF rules apply. So your flag has to be in place in order for you to be able to capture your enemies. And the map is the same as the current PvE map from what I can tell, except, less creepy and more daytime. And you'll notice that they've added in more ways to get up onto rooftops and other places to try to gain an advantage on opponents. You've got 2 of the starter weapons available to you right from within your starting spot, but the inventory in the game is based on weight. And in PvP, I guess your weight limitations are different because you can't pick up the rocket launcher that you might find on the rooftop areas if you happen to pick up more than a few of the other weapons available. So you've got to watch out for that. Otherwise, you find some of the same weapons along with Molotov cocktails and grenades scattered around the map, as well as health nodes, stamina regen, and the almighty quad damage from Quake Live and Unreal Tournament, which is very handy. And for some reason in PvP, if you hold down shift, you can actually sprint for a ways, and it's fairly fast. It's kind of a feature that I wouldn't mind having in PvE. I don't know if they just haven't implemented it yet, or it's just one of those things that you have in PvP versus PvE. Either way, it's really cool. But so is the rest of the game. For pre-alpha, I think the game looks absolutely amazing, with a few bugs here and there. But the nice thing is that the developers are letting people in early to test and improve the game as they freaking put it together from the start. That's awesome. So I definitely recommend, if you like this style of game, get in and check it out, and you'll more than likely have a say on what changes are made and what might be added to the game in the future. I'm personally excited to see what comes of this game, honestly. Especially since it's going to be available on so many platforms with cross-platform compatibility. But anyway, guys, that's about all there is to show in the game so far. Hopefully in the future we can do a refresher on this game and be impressed on the direction that they may take it. But for now, if you're looking for more information about Monster Madness Online, which is MMO for short, so it's MMO the MMO, head over to the game profile at MMOHuts.com from the link in the description below. And until next time, guys, that's going to be it for me. I'm James Blonde. See you out there, gamers.